Luigi, how good to meet you. Let's start this conversation with a real positive. What factors have contributed to the record 41% year-on-year growth in sales at Milan airport shops and restaurants last year?
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. In terms of the growth we recorded last year, the main factors were, firstly, the growth in passenger numbers compared to 2022, which in the first 3 months were still affected by COVID. Secondly, the spending per pax, the higher spending per pax, both in retail and food and beverage, which is resulting from things that we can discuss. And ultimately, I will say also contribution from inflation factor.
Well, interestingly and equally good, you achieved a 15% increase in average spend per head to 11.5 euros. The question I guess I now have to ask is, what strategies are you actually employing to increase this figure still further?
It's the key question. When we look back at what happened with COVID, I must share with you that I felt an immense frustration right after COVID, because I was seeing the passengers coming back and our airports were not, how can I say, in line with the changed customer expectations. So we decided to apply a bold approach. We set up a JV in food and beverage with the Arias Group because we wanted to accelerate, to speed up the innovation in food and beverage, because all the food outlets were okay, but my vision was that we needed something really impressive for the customers. And as a matter of fact, in 2 years and a half, we have delivered almost 30 new food outlets. I call that a rejuvenation, a new wave of new food concepts in all 3 terminals, 3 airports. Terminal 1 and 2 in Malpensa and our city airport in Linate. And then we launched a series of tenders in food and beverage. When it comes to retail, we worked a lot with the other JV we have with the Volta Group, and we invested a lot on, much more than in the past, on convenience stores. So we made them larger, smarter, with different assortment. Same we did in the main duty-free shops. And we were also sort of lucky because I left the gallery, the mall, alive during COVID. We gave relief to all our brands, and they were so that they could be alive when the crisis was over. And luxury performed extremely well. So the combination of all these actions turned out to be, the real reason why we grew so much.
That takes us to now. Where do you go from here?
From here, we need to keep innovating, and it's not just a slogan. I really mean it. To keep innovating means that we need to continue to invest in our infrastructure, to make it more comfortable and appealing. We need to attract even better brands. We need to make pressure on our partners to improve themselves. So, in other words, we need to be always satisfying, how can I say, the demand from passengers. Passengers nowadays are different from the past. They demand more. We have seen in the conference this morning that there is this premiumization both in food and beverage and retail. Actually, sometimes I personally think that prices start being very high, but the product has improved dramatically, the product in food and beverage and the service as well. But the passenger is extremely smart. Nowadays, we need to be in line with that expectation. And so the speed at which in airports you do things is key, in my opinion, because we tend to be slow. So through the JV we set up, we managed to be quite fast in execution, and also changing continuously the proposition, the offer, with new brands and new food concept and new lounges, different from each other, is very, very important nowadays.
Yeah, I don't think any airport can sit on their hands and do nothing.
No.
Because this is the age of agility. And you've got to respond to people's to the trends in the marketplace. And historically, as you well know, airports have always been behind the domestic market.
Yes.
And we've got to play catch up.
I agree
Simple
with
as
that.
that.
I always look at the shopping center designer outlet industry. For example, the increasing of food proposals started in shopping centers. They were starting to suffer from online, and then they rethought their business proposition. And I think now they are destination, and the food and beverage, which in the past was not part of
Wasn't part of the mix.
Part of the mix. Now is the driver of the traffic. I think that airports, when it comes to retail at least, is no different from that industry, and as well as department stores. So I think that we need to look at what other industries do and be inspired by them.
Now this year, as we know from this morning's conference, passenger numbers have finally reached, certainly exceeded 2019 levels. How has the return of intercontinental traffic, especially from Asia, the UAE and the US, impacted luxury sales at Malpensa?
In 2023, you mean?
Yes.
A lot, because the spend per pax in the luxury cluster grew by 15%. And I'm talking about spending per pax, per passenger. This year is continuing, but the Chinese consumers, the Chinese passengers are showing a lower spending attitude due to all the
Yes.
phenomenon that we know about GDP in China and real estate crisis and so on. But still, given the fact that we have an extremely various mix of carriers, destination, long haul, we are keeping our growth also this year.
Let's go back to the numbers. In 2023, retail sales grew by 43% and F&B by 35%. How do you actually capitalize on this momentum? Are you considering, for example, to allocate more space to F&B given its strong performance?
It's again a very good question, and you captured somehow one of the reasons why we grew so much in food and beverage, because over the last 3 years, from 2022, we have allocated around 1,500 square meters in food and beverage, and we are talking about spaces that formerly were shops. I don't mean that they were useless or boring shops, but I thought with my team that we needed to increase, to segment even more and even better food and beverage. Also, that was
it was a brave move.
It was a brave move, but not different from what happened in shopping centers. When I grew my career, when I started my career in shopping center, there was around 7-8% of the gross lettable area was allocated to food and beverage.
Yes.
Nowadays, in some shopping centers, probably you are around 15-20%. Okay, so I thought that the same should happen should have happened in the airport, and we did that. We haven't done that, in one moment. It took some time because you have contracts expiring. You need to change the destination of a place. But nowadays, this is clear. If you come to Linate Malpensa, you will realize immediately. And one of the, probably major takeaway from COVID was the passengers were coming earlier to the airport, were showing up earlier at the airport, and we had become much better in managing security. So you have, these customers, they are there 1 hour earlier so they can enjoy the food, especially the frequent flyers. So
yeah, they don't want to eat, they don't want to snack.
Exactly. And you mentioned the growth in retail. This is largely duty-free, luxury, convenience store, but the growth we recorded in food and beverage was also fueled by the higher space we allocate. So, but still, the growth in retail was good. So the strategy proved to be apparently the good one.
Now, staying with F&B, are you considering stepping outside the main current operator, the current JV, and introducing more local, famous local restaurants? After all, Milan is known for its great food. Is this possibly one missing piece in the puzzle?
No, I don't think there's a missing piece in the puzzle, for the simple reason that we use the JV to promote local brands, local food. If you instead mean that we should be open to local operators, we are providing they are able to manage the channel, because in this channel you need to be open from 5 a.m., maybe 4 in some low-cost terminal, till 8. So sometimes it's even the brand creator, the entrepreneur, the startupper asking us, I have created this brand, it works very well in the city or in a shopping center, but please don't ask me to, I'd like to see this in the airport, can you please give me a chance? And we do that through the JV, because the JV, unlike tenders that you can organize, is the vehicle through which you can promote innovation, introduce new brands, and we do that a lot.
Well, let's get back to retail, which is the engine room of the business. Can you tell us more about the Milano Malpensa boutique platform? How's it performing so far?
Milano Malpensa Boutique is our luxury digital marketplace. We launched it during COVID. It was a brave decision approved by my Chief Executive Officer, Armando Brunini, and we decided to launch it quietly in July 2021. And
almost silently.
Yes, just to see how how the customers were interfacing with it, and then it took 1 year, even more, to understand what we had to do. Nowadays we are recording around 10,000, more or less, interested visits every month, which means people spending, let's say, 2 minutes on the platform, browsing the catalog. So the platform is key for our strategy towards China, because the Chinese consumers, and in general Korean, Vietnamese, they are very much used to these platforms in Asia. Platform giving you the possibility to browse the catalog, to see the size, the color, the availability of stock, and this is important because they can arrive at the airport more prepared. So for us, it's one of the multiple tools we have our marketing, to succeed in retail, because the longer they spend on the platform, the more prepared they arrive at the airport. Don't forget that they can
builds loyalty. It builds loyalty.
It builds loyalty, and don't forget that they place an order from multiple shops, and don't forget that they still have to pick up the goods for customs reasons from the shop. So sometimes what happens is that they may be disappointed because that item is out of stock, but at the same time they go to the shop, they talk to the staff, and they buy something else. We are very pleased because it didn't cost too much, and time after time, we are getting new brands on board: Giorgio Armani, Montblanc, Etro. So it's our luxury platform. The difference is we decided to change a little bit our approach and to open the platform even to other brands. So it's not only, there will be a luxury cluster like the physical mall, but it will open to all our brands. It doesn't cost nothing. The only thing they can place on the platform their own catalogs, and everything has to be digitally fast and smart, because we have just a small team dedicated to that. But it's something I believe a lot in.
Looking ahead, can you just elaborate on the planned delivery service for pre-purchased booking items to lounges or gates?
Yeah, it's something we are currently working on. We are next year. We are trying to provide such service in agreement with Avolta, and because don't forget that we manage our lounges directly as Milan Airport. We have our own brand, which is called Club SEA Milano Airport. Sure. So we would like to offer the lounge guests the possibility to order from the duty-free shops. We are certain that we can deliver a good service and increase the sales as well. So we want to work on that. And another project is to offer extensively the QR code, order and pay at the table restaurants, because this has to do with the short dwell time that you have in the airport. So if we offer in all the foods, at least the table service restaurant wants this service, I'm sure that passengers will appreciate that a lot.
Now, what about the plans for the healthcare centre concept introduced at Malpensa to other areas of the airport or to Linate?
Linate is already there. We converted a former car park till counter into this medical center, and funny enough, when you come to Linate, I will show you around, Peter, you will see that Linate now is connected to the city through the underground train. It's 12 minutes from the center of Milan, so the medical center in Linate, it's open not only to airport staff and passengers, but also to the city community. So we added the Linate one after Malpensa. The one in Malpensa is working specifically for airlines crew, for airport staff, not for passengers, because it lies in a hidden area. So it's something specifically taught for crisis, should ever happen, something like the nightmare we went through, or for just for the staff.
And what of new technologies or innovations that you're considering to enhance the overall passenger experience at Milan airports?
My colleagues from operation and Alessandro Fidato, Armando Brunini, they have introduced in Linate, we were I think the first ones in doing this, the smart security, which made passengers' life so easy over the last years. Recently, the European Commission stopped, the procedure on the liquid, but it's something that will be overcome soon. And the other innovation they are working is the face boarding in Linate, and now we are looking also to introduce that in Malpensa. So these are the main tech innovation I can think of when it comes to general experience. But our CEO is very, very keen on easing passengers' lives.
One last question, Luigi. If there are 3 learnings that you can share with the viewing audience, what would they be?
Based on my experience, I've been almost 15 years now in SEA, and based on the true COVID and the post-COVID experience, the first lesson is you need to change continuously your proposition. You need to be fast, to be quick in the execution, because the airports as an industry tend to be too slow in making things happen, new things, and keeping the pace of innovation at the highest rate, because this is, based on my experience, what it proved to deliver revenues and meet customers' demand.
That was one learning. What are the other 2?
The second learning can be that we need to thrive on data. We need to learn how to turn data into deeper knowledge of customers and integrate that into the business. And the third one can be integrating even more the digital with the physical retail. That is what we are doing with the marketplace and with other innovation in our business.
Luigi Battuello, thank you for your time. Good stuff.
My pleasure. Thank you.